Hi. In this tutorial, we're going to review the grants screen in Digital Measures. Let's click on the grants hot link to open the grants screen. This submenu will list all of the grant activities that you have entered into Digital Measures so far. Grant projects should be entered by the lead PNWU person involved in the grant. This may or may not be the PI for the grant. It is best if there are multiple PNWU people involved in the grant project to discuss who will be responsible for entering and tracking the project data in Digital Measures for the entire group. Once the lead person enters the grant information and all of the project participants, all PNWU staff and our faculty that are listed will be able to view the grant project details in their own grant screen within Digital Measures. They will not, however, have the ability to change the information in the grant project. That can only be done by the person that originally entered the project into Digital Measures. If you see a discrepancy in the grant data, contact the lead grant person for the grant to have it corrected. Digital Measures will also automatically put your grant entries into sending date order for you. The records you create in this screen are used to populate your resume, CV, and faculty evaluation reports. Right now, I've built in a test grant to show you what that would look like. So this shows the type of grant and the name of that grant, and this is just the one activity that I have entered so far in my grants submenu. I can add additional grants by clicking on Add a New Item, and that will open up a brand new screen for me to enter another grant. If I hit Return and Cancel, I can go back to that submenu without saving. And it may be that perhaps I'm working on another grant, or I'm starting to plan another grant that's very similar to the current grant that I'm already working in. I could actually just make a copy of this grant by clicking that copy button. And that would open up a new instance, and this is a copy of the previous one. And for instance, perhaps this is a different type of grant. Maybe it's a research grant. And I'm going to give this a different number, a different grant title, so that we can see the second entry and that it is very different. And perhaps it is a clinical medicine grant. So I've just changed a few of the fields in here so that this grant becomes different. Also, you have the ability, of course, to change the people. So when you make a copy of a grant activity, the people from the old grant are also going to be listed in this copy. So you can go in and you can delete those people by clicking on that red X there in the investigator box, so that you can enter the people that are in this particular activity. So it's always going to list the person that's entering. They're always going to be that one box that has that person's name in it. And then for any additional people, you just need to add additional boxes. And so you can add up to 10 boxes at a time, but you can add more than that. You can add 10 and then add 10 more. So if you needed 25 boxes, you would do a 10 and a 10 and a 5. But anyway, so let's pretend like I'm going to add 2 more people. I'm going to click Add, and then it gives me 2 more investigator boxes. So if it's a person that's at PNWU, if they are a faculty or staff member, then they will be in this, should be in this drop-down list. As long as they are a 0.2 FTE and above, they will be in this drop-down list. If they're below a 0.2 FTE, you can still type their first, middle, and last name in these boxes. They will not have the ability to see the grant activity in Digital Measures, because anybody that's a 0.2 or below a 0.2 does not have a Digital Measures login information. So they don't have an account, but we can still add their names into the activity so that we can keep track of everybody that's involved in that activity. But for this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and choose one of my test faculty members like this, and then I need to choose the role. So I'm going to say co-principal, and no, they're not a student. And then for my third investigator, I'm going to pretend like this is a student. And so I put in test and student for the first and last name. The role, maybe they have a supporting role, and yes, it is a student. Again, students are also not in the drop-down list, but it's important for us to track also any projects that involve students, because we want to be able to show that we frequently engage with students in research and scholarly activity. So this is a great way for us to be able to show that we're doing that. And then you just go through this screen, and you want to make sure that you at least fill out the fields that have the red asterisks, because the red asterisk means that that is a required field. So if you don't have those fields filled out, when you go to save this, it won't allow you to save until you have filled those out. Additionally, you also need to make sure that you save at least one of the date fields within the screen. You need to have at least the month and the year. You don't have to have the date, but you do have to have the month and the year of at least one of these date fields in order to be able to save the activity. And the reason for that is because when we go to pull reports, if we don't have any date information at all, then the report doesn't know whether to pull that data based on the report parameters. So it's very important that we have at least one date field filled out. And basically what you want to do with your research projects is the minute that you start planning a research project, you really should go ahead and enter that project into digital measures and enter the people that are involved in it, and start that right from the beginning. And you would also want to make sure at that time that you go ahead and just, report what your status is. So, if this is something that's just in development, for instance, not yet submitted, go ahead and set your status that way and save it. And then as your status changes every once in a while, maybe once a quarter or twice a year, go in and change your status to show any big developments that have changed in your status for your project. And also maybe then at that point you might have might know what your application amount is going to be, or your funded amount, those kinds of information. So whenever you get those things, go ahead and put them in. As you can see, not all of the fields are required, because it's hard to tell what fields exactly you might need to use or you may not need to use. And so we don't make all of the fields required on purpose so that it's easier for you to use this screen to however you need to use it. So this is basically how you create a grant activity, but I'm also going to show you, because I've added a PNWU person, which in this case it's a test person, but I'm going to log into that person's account and show you what they can see about this grant from their account menu, from their account screen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save and return here. Okay, and so here are the two grant activities that I've entered. Now I'm going to go ahead and log off, and then I'm going to log back in as that test faculty member. So just give me a second here to get logged in. Actually, I think it's, oops. There we go. Okay. Oops, nope, that was not the right one. Just one second. Go back. Right the first time. Okay, and so now I'm logged in as that test faculty member, and I'm going to go ahead and open up that grant submenu. And as you can see, there are a couple of test grants that I've entered and added that test faculty member to. And so I can click on this edit view, and now I can see that grant and all the information for that grant. But in this particular activity, which I entered on my end, this test faculty member, as they're logged in, does not have the ability to change any of this data. They can view everything, but they can't change anything. And if I hit cancel, and I can also take a look at this one, and that's what that little seeing glass, that little magnifying glass is telling you, that that's a view only status for that particular activity. And again, view only also in this one, okay? And then I'm going to cancel back out. And that's pretty much it for the grant screen. So if you have any questions or concerns about how to enter grant activity information, don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email. Thanks again. Goodbye.